So, introducing Jessica, she's got a wonderful story. So, Jessica, you sent your story through to me, and I was pretty gobsmacked actually. A lot of it I resonated with, but I didn't have the giving birth bit to deal with.
Yeah.
So,
Just add into the mix.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, do you want to do you want to tell your story for the listeners, and then we'll kind of open the discussion from there, if you like.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a lengthy story. I mean, I sent you pretty long text. So I'd just given birth in November 24, and about 4 weeks after, I remember being in bed and I just had this intense pain, and I mean intense to the point where I couldn't breathe. And it was right under my rib cage, and it radiated around to my back, and it was like, like an elastic band just being put around and squeezed. And I was like, what is this? I had no idea what it was. And I was a new mum, so I was like, I can't afford to be in pain or ill. I've just got to get on with it. And sort of just dismissed it really. Um, and I started getting these like episodes, I want to call them,
Hmm.
quite regularly, to the point like in the middle of the night I'd be crying because I'm like, my baby's finally sleeping through for the first like 3 hours and I'm sitting here in pain rather than actually catching up on sleep. And me and my husband, it was just like awful.
Did you have
um
any? Did you go to the hospital or doctors at that stage? No. Wow.
because I was just like, oh, it's probably indigestion. I was taking like Gaviscon tablets. I was like, it's just indigestion. Like, everything moves after pregnancy. Something's probably just a little bit skew if it's nothing to
Yeah.
do. I've got a baby to look after. I can't afford to be going doctors and them going X, Y, Z. And that was kind of every single time it happened, I'd be like, do I go? And I'm like, no, I've got to get up in the morning and I've got to look after Violet, which is my daughter.
Yeah.
Um, and then the worst one was Christmas. So I was like, oh, first
Mm.
Christmas, to get all the magic, and gorged myself on a roast because I was so excited. It was like the best roast that my husband had
Yeah.
done. Middle of the night,
I
woke
bet,
up, vomited it all up.
yeah. I bet
Um,
that was your turning point. You probably pushed it without realizing.
Too far without realizing. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, and I was a bit teary. Sat on the toilet crying,
Wow.
vomit, and I was just like, this is just awful. And I had to like call my husband because I was just like, I don't know what to do. I couldn't breathe because it was just constant. I was in pain then for the rest of Christmas. I had my in-laws coming in on Boxing Day, and I was sitting there not able to eat anything, not able to drink anything because it caused me so much pain. And
How are you
it was,
managing? Sorry, how are you managing the pain at that point? Did you have anything?
nope. I
Wow.
wasn't taking anything because I was breastfeeding, so I didn't want to.
Oh my God, of
Yeah,
course.
so it was like in the middle of the night, in pain, having a child latched, and I'm just like trying to breathe through it so that she can make sure that she gets her fill. And I
Wow.
didn't want to put anything in my system.
Yeah.
I sometimes had paracetamol, but even then I was so worried. I was like, what if
Yeah.
that goes through my milk into her and something
Yeah.
happens? I
Yeah.
was just really, really cautious.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
and in January, so December was definitely the worst
Mm.
one.
Mm.
And then in January, it happened every week. So it went from every couple of weeks to literally every week, I'd have this
Yeah.
sort of attack. And it was unbearable that I eventually went to the doctors,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I'd turned yellow. I'd gone
Yeah.
slightly jaundiced.
This
And
is the thing people don't realize.
yeah,
It's visually, you can see this as well, but you
yeah.
don't notice it initially.
No, and I remember
Mm.
looking in the bathroom mirror and I was like,
Mm.
I look yellow. And I wasn't sure. Sometimes lighting changes the way your skin looks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Mick, that's my husband. I was like, Mick, can
Mm.
you just look in the mirror? I was like, no, you look normal. Why do I look yellow? So
Yeah.
we went to the doctors and they were like, it might be gallbladder. So I got given a omeprazole and
Yeah.
Gaviscon to help with any indigestion that potentially might be causing
Yeah.
it. Um, and I was like, cool, let's just
Yeah.
continue. Started trying to like work out what was triggering it. So like cutting out
Yeah.
caffeine and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then 4th of February, so the day prior, I'd had a flare up
Mm.
and couldn't eat anything. I'd thrown everything up. I remember having my baby crying in my arms and going, right, Mick, I can't feed her currently because I need to throw up. Can you just defrost, warm up some of the milk that we got in the fridge and feed her whilst I just going through my guts up in the bathroom, just like you do. Um,
You've still got this pain underneath your rib cage going on.
Literally all here.
Yeah.
It was like an elastic band had just tightened and tightened and tightened. And then 4th February, woke up, had baby in bed. I've even got a picture of us in bed. And it's like the loveliest picture ever, but it's now so bittersweet because later that day, I couldn't eat anything. I was throwing up my guts, and it got to, I want to say like 7, 8 o'clock at night,
Yeah. Yeah.
just about to put baby to bed. And I went, nope, and threw up onto the carpet. And I felt awful. Then I was like, crap, I've to just ruined the carpet. And I was in so much pain, I just couldn't move. I was like, Mick, you need to call 911. That's American, 999. And I need to go to hospital. I said, this is not normal. There's something seriously wrong here. And I
Yeah.
was in so much pain. And the ambulance came and they were like, oh, it might just be a stomach ulcer. Um, like, let's drink some milk, that might help just calm everything down. I'm like, it won't work, but let's do it, because I just knew, you just know in that moment that
You know,
something's
you know
not.
what you're saying there, it kind of resonates so much. It's like even at this point here where you've kind of talked about how it initially started, how the GP and the doctors and all that kind of, and then you've got the paramedics, and not one person in that whole scenario, medically trained, has actually thought maybe this might be pancreatitis,
Yeah.
and this is what we find, isn't it?
I hadn't even heard of it myself.
No,
Like,
me
first
neither.
thing.
No. Mm,
I
yeah.
was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but everyone goes to the smaller things. I mean, Gaviscon must. I mean, not being funny, we're advertising Gaviscon now, but they must make an absolute fortune
Honestly.
in early stage pancreatitis patients who don't know they've got it yet.
Yeah. Honestly, I spent so much money. I just got on these little chewable tablets that tasted like mint. I used to
Yeah,
have like four a pop because I thought,
yeah,
oh yeah, this would be the magic thing that
yeah,
helped. Nah.
yeah.
um, yeah,
Yeah.
no, definitely not.
Wow, wow. So
Um, and yeah, I mean and then it just everything went and exploded, and it was just the most like harrowing thing ever because I was just in so much pain and I'd given birth. I mean, I had a C-section and was
yeah,
walking within 2 days.
yeah, yeah.
I was in more pain now than I was after that, and I'd had a major abdominal surgery.
You know what? Nobody believed me because I'm a man, of course. When people have said more painful than childbirth or C-section, they say, "Oh, come on, it's ridiculous." But you've just proved, thank you very much for that.
Honest to God, because I mean, I was walking. I was able standing up 6 hours after the surgery,
Yeah, yeah,
like going toilet and stuff. I
yeah.
was in pain, but I was still able to move. I was on that bed screaming, my stomach's going to explode. I could not move for
You
no.
must have had. I mean, you must have had the fear of God in you. And how did your husband feel? I mean, we forget about our partners, don't we?
My husband has been through the ringer, and he is my absolute rock. And
Mm,
that first night, I was like, I'm so sorry. It was the first time that he was going to have to put my baby to bed by himself
mm,
and sleep in bed, knowing that his wife is in hospital screaming in pain, not
yeah,
able to do anything. And I was just like, I wasn't even worried about me. I was more worried about him because I was like, he's got an 11-week old.
yeah,
Like, we've done this together so far. No, like, we've
sure.
not had separation. We've done it together. And now he's by himself for the first time.
Yeah, yeah,
I was just sitting in bed thinking, like, what is going on right now? And my mum had then called me. So my mum, dad, and sister live in Ireland. And my mum called me in hospital because my husband had texted her saying Jess has gone hospital. And I'm on the phone, could
mm,
barely talk. I had my eyes closed. I was like in like this like pain daze. I'm sure
mm,
you know the like
yeah,
feeling where
yeah,
you're just in
yeah,
so much pain, nothing makes
sure,
sense.
yeah, yeah,
And she's like, "Do you need me to come over?" And I'm like, "No, no, it's fine. Like, I'll be out of here tomorrow." Like, just
yeah,
dismiss it. She
yeah.
went, "No, I'm coming. I'm flying over." And she flew over the next day. And
Wow,
I'm so grateful for that because she ended up having to stay 5 months because I wasn't home the next day. I was in hospital for months. And
wow,
she came over and she helped look after my daughter. She helped make sure that my husband ate and that he showered and was able to come see me whenever he wanted. And I'm
yeah.
so grateful for her for that.
Because
Um,
the one thing you've not mentioned at this stage, I think, is that the initial or the root cause diagnosis, up until this stage? Because at the moment we're still, I mean, I was exactly the same. We're still symptom based, aren't we? We're
Hmm.
still being treated for symptoms. So, assuming when you was in the hospital, obviously you had scans at that point.
No. So
No.
no. So I got to A&E. I was sat in the corridor for most of the
Yeah.
night. They got fed up of my screaming, so put me in a room. Don't blame them. I was quite incessant.
Okay.
Um,
Quite rightly so.
yeah, ended up back in the corridor on gas and air and got moved to a normal ward. And it was just sort of pain management because that's all they
Yeah.
could do. They weren't doing any tests, no scans yet. And I was sitting on the ward, and my husband had come in, and I was still in this like pain daze, but I was topped up. I'm pretty sure I had like morphine,
Okay.
gas and air, and tramadol at that point. So I was
Well,
then sort of
yeah. Yeah.
like a slightly drugged state
Yeah.
because got lots of that going on. And that night, the pain started up again.
Okay.
And that's when they were like, right, I had all of these doctors, they closed all of the um, curtains for every other patient. When I'm really sorry, guys, this is going to get loud, but we've got a patient in pain. And I'm like, okay. So close all these curtains, and I have this influx, and I mean influx. I think there's about 7 or 8 doctors and nurses and ANPs that come in, and I've
Yeah.
got this one standing on a computer. I've got this one talking to that one talking to that one. I've got people like sticking things in me, and they go, "She needs to be in ICU." And I remember
Mm.
thinking, "What is wrong with me?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you mean I need to be in ICU? Like I was fine 2 days ago. Like what is this? Like
Sure.
I just didn't know what was wrong."
Wow.
And it was at that point then they were like, right, we need an emergency CT scan to be able to work out what's going
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they were like, we don't know. We just know that you need to be in ICU under pain management and we
Sure.
need to get a CT scan. And that CT scan was the worst because I don't know if you had it. Anytime you moved, the sides just
Oh,
hurt.
yeah. Yes.
You get
Yeah.
that pain that just radiates around your sides. And
Yeah.
every time I moved, they had to drag me across. And because it was an emergency and they wanted to get me straight back to the ward to ICU for pain management, they did it a bit sloppily because they wanted to try and get everything done so
Yeah.
quickly. And I'm just sitting there going, my belly's going
You
to
know,
explode.
I always ask this. I always ask this question to people as well. Is that if you've had enough CT scans, then you know what that voice says, don't you? When you go in, breathe in, hold your breath,
Breathe.
breathe
You
out.
can breathe normally now, I think is what my one
Yeah,
said.
you try breathing when you're
Oh,
in that much pain anyway.
don't. It's so bad.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
yeah, it was that CT scan, and I'm going back to the thing, and I had, I think, tramadol,
Mm,
oxycodone at this point rather than morphine.
yes,
And I was just sort of lying in bed, like, what is happening? I'm in ICU, like
yeah,
nothing I could have ever pictured.
yeah,
Um, Next day, I get told, yeah, you've got pancreatitis, it's necrotizing, and it's caused by gallstones. A gallstone has dislodged from your gallbladder and blocked your bile duct, and that's what's caused all of this.
yeah.
Um, and it's not because I was pregnant, like
No,
that. I had gallstones prior to being pregnant. You just don't know that you have gallstones until
no.
it becomes dire, basically.
Sure.
And everything moves in pregnancy. So basically, what happened once she was born, everything moved back down. That dislodged the
Yeah.
stone because everything was decompressing again.
Oh,
So
oh,
I was just like, oh, so it's my fault because I'm like, I got pregnant, so I caused it. I had no control over it. It wasn't my fault.
no.
It's no one's fault.
The thing is with that is, I mean, you're saying, I mean, it took it for me, it took several months before and in and out of hospital before I then got to the stage where I was diagnosed with necrosis of the pancreas at that stage. But it's interesting that now your first scan in your case identifies that's occurring.
Hmm.
So you must have been in that pancreatic demise, if you like, for so
Hmm.
long,
Yeah,
because that takes a little while for that to kind of
yeah, and
break, you know.
a lot of the doctors said it was one of the worst cases they'd seen in like
Yeah.
recent
Mm,
years. And I remember thinking, just
mm,
of course, I've got the worst case they've seen in years. Of course, I'm 11 weeks postpartum, not with my
yeah.
baby, and they can see the worst case of
Wow.
pancreatitis.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
what mentalness?
so when you were first told about the necrosis, what
I
was
didn't
your
actually know what
first?
that meant.
Oh, right.
I was like, what do you mean necrosis? Like, what
Yeah.
does that mean?
Yeah.
Because
Mm,
like necrosis. All I could think was, this is going to sound really bad. Necrophilia. I was like, that's dead people. I was like, is
Yeah,
something dead?
yeah,
And they're like, yeah, no, your pancreas has basically had a tantrum and decided to start eating itself
yeah.
and has caused the thing to die off. And I'm like, am I going to live? How can you live with like part
Mm.
of a pancreas? I didn't even know what the organ did.
No,
And
no.
to be honest, I still don't really, other than I just know it's not quite working quite right now.
I don't
Um,
think, I don't think you're the only one, I think, because the interesting thing is, and as I say, I done a lot of research over this over the years, and the thing for me is that I learned that it dealt with insulin, and I also learned that it dealt with enzymes. But what I hadn't taken into consideration was that seems to have control over other parts of the body,
mhm.
and we don't know why. And actually, the consultants don't know why.
Yeah, no. I mean, I didn't even realize that it dealt with insulin
Mm,
until I got diagnosed as a diabetic towards the
mm,
end of my second admission. I didn't realize that the pancreas dealt with that. And I was in
yeah,
hospital with issues with it for the whole time.
yeah, yeah.
Like, oh, okay, so this is quite an important organ.
Of course,
Um,
yeah,
and I was just, I don't know, it was just bizarre because I'd never heard of it before. I'd never known.
no.
And then all of a sudden, and I don't know if you experienced this, everyone had it. There were loads of people in hospital with
Oh, yeah,
pancreatitis. And I was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's really quite a serious thing. There are lots of people
yeah.
dealing with
Oh,
this.
yeah,
How have I never heard
yeah,
of this before?
yeah.
And it was just bizarre. And I remember getting told, yep, 6 to 8 weeks and you'll be home. I
Mm,
remember crying on the phone to my husband, going, I can't survive 6 to 8 weeks. How are you going to survive? Like, you've got Bob's. Like, we're not going to be able to do it. And he was like, nope, we're fine. You need to be in
yeah.
there. My mum's here. So, like, she's going to help me look after Violet.
Mm,
And just sitting in hospital, just thinking, am I ever going to get home? And I started off stronger than I ended.
yes.
To-
How was your kind of mental state at that stage as well? I mean, for me, when as soon as they told me my pancreas was dying, I was thinking, if it's dying, where's all the dead stuff going?
yeah,
And
but
that's
you
what,
consider that.
yeah, no, I'm an old engineer, so I think I overthink everything, you know. And
I
I was
don't
thinking, where's
think
all
you're
that
in that
stuff going?
situation as well.
Yeah, and for me, they said, well, it's in your abdomen cavity, you know. And for me, that's where the sepsis thing began to kick in, you
Yeah.
know. So I mean, how did you feel, knowing that that was going on?
I didn't know that was going on.
Okay, right,
I was in ICU for 2 weeks before I'd even heard about the fact that my pancreas is creating a fluid that's just sitting in my body.
sure, sure, yeah,
Because I hadn't had any pain related to that. So I found that the fluid buildup pain, or like the gunk is what we used to call
yeah,
it,
sure,
that's slightly different to the pancreatitis pain because obviously that's just in your abdomen, whereas the
cool,
pancreatitis is very specific to sort of the rib cage,
yeah,
under the rib cage area.
yeah,
Um, but I remember I was on epidural at one point because the
yeah,
pancreatitis pain was so bad. I ended up
right,
catching COVID after my first week in
yeah,
hospital, and put into an isolation room. And I was still walking around at this point. I was
yeah,
able
yeah,
to use, well, I
mm,
was using a commode because I was hooked up to so many different
yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah,
But I was walking around, I was talking, I was a little bit out of it from the pain
sure,
medicine. I was having hallucinations. I don't know if you
yeah.
also suffered with that.
Oh God, yeah, yeah, yeah. I actually wrote a chapter about an out of body experience. Honestly, I was just in a different planet.
See, I didn't have that sort of experience. So I've had loads of people. I went to an ICU support group and they were like, yeah, I thought I was in space. And I'm like, I thought the nurses were trying to steal me. I just
Mm.
had my hallucinations were just these figures coming to try and steal me out of my bed. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, I was in space. I'm like, I wish I was in space. That would have been much nicer.
I actually walked. I actually got out of bed and I went to the shower and had a shower. Apparently, I'd spoken to two nurses on the way to the shower who suggested it wasn't really a good idea. But I came back, got back in bed, and the whole experience for me was I wasn't in hospital. I was actually at a bike race. I was meeting people, and I was completely off the planet.
Bizarre.
And I got back in bed, and it was when I came, well, the doctors overlooking me in the bed like they do. saying, Mr. Snow, are you with us? Are you with us? And I was completely off the plan. And to this day, I mean, it was a ward I'd never been in before for a
Yeah.
start. To this day, I couldn't go back to that bed, and I couldn't find the shower room. I didn't know where it was. How bizarre is that? And that was sepsis, and it was also the morphine and all the
Yeah.
other. And I was, what a world to live in.
Bizarre, isn't it? What the brain does to you in
So
like
yeah,
high
yeah,
stress.
yeah. So we've got a survival instinct we don't realize we've got.
Yeah, it's crazy what like the mind does.
Yeah,
I remember they had to
yeah,
stop the tramadol I was taking because they were like, I think that's what's really causing like the vivid hallucinations.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and once that stopped, I still
mm,
had them, but they weren't as intense, which I was very grateful for.
yeah,
Um,
mm,
but once I'd caught COVID, that was
mm,
when the worst of it actually happened. Yes, I was in pain, but I was having pain meds. I could manage it. I was on the epidural. I had a PCA. I'd
mm,
come out of the isolation room. I was in there for 7 days. It was only meant to be 5, but they didn't have a bed out in the main area. So I was in there for an extra 2 days. And I come out, and the first night that I come out, I had a temperature spike.
right.
It was almost like a septic shower.
Yes, I had several of those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I had a
mm,
spike, and I remember lying in bed. My husband had just left,
mm,
and I turned to the nurse and said, "Am I going to die?"
yeah,
Because
yeah,
I was sitting there and I was shaking. I was pure sweat.
yeah,
My heart was beating so fast
yeah,
and I couldn't move. And I just felt the worst I'd felt this whole like couple of weeks. And
yeah,
I turned to the nurse and went, "Am I going to die?" Because they couldn't give me paracetamol to take my temperature down because I'd only had it 2 hours prior.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I just, that was really the start of like the worst of it.
Did you have
Um,
the did you have the horrible uncontrollable shakes?
yeah, what was, oh, they used
I
to call
mean,
it something. I had that so
mm,
often.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they
Yeah.
were covering me with blankets. I mean, they covered me with about four blankets. And bearing in mind, I was already in a warm ward, and that septic shock and high
See?
temperature thing. I literally was like this on the bed,
Yeah.
couldn't control it, and the energy level that you use
Hmm.
to try and sustain that, you're
Yeah.
exhausted at the end of it, aren't you?
Oh, I conked out afterwards. I'd slept.
Mm.
But funny that you said that they've put blankets on you. I wasn't allowed to have any blankets.
Oh, was you not? Oh, okay, yeah,
They were like, "No, if we put blankets on you, this is gonna
yeah,
get worse." And I was like, "I'm so cold. I just want a
yeah,
blanket." Even
yeah,
though my temperature was 40 plus. I
yeah,
was
yeah,
like, "I'm
yeah,
so cold." But
yeah.
they couldn't put any on me. It was against the regulations.
Yeah, I mean, I think my language wasn't very good, and I think it was a case of give it to him for now and pull him off later. Yeah,
You were in pain. I pardon all French whenever I was in hospital. I was like, I'm in too much pain to be nice and polite right now.
yeah,
I always apologize for it afterwards. I'm like, it
yeah,
wasn't me, but I'm not going to care at the moment.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, no, and that was when it started. So then we had another CT scan after that, and that's when all the like gunk fluid buildup was found.
sure.
And I didn't find out about this until I want to say 2, 3 months later. But I had like a horseshoe around my back filled with the necrotic
Oh,
um,
yeah,
bypass of
bravery.
everything,
Yeah,
and it was fully infected, and I had sepsis.
mm,
And it was literally like a horseshoe. It went all the way around my back like
yeah,
this. And that was when I had to have my first drain.
right. Yes.
Um, didn't know what to expect.
No, sure.
Is this going to hurt? And they're like, yeah, no, it's fine. Like, it's a really simple procedure. It's not going to hurt. They're just going to put a needle in and then put a tube around that. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
tell me it's
yeah.
not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt. Boy, were they wrong. Like, you've clearly never had this done. And I
Yeah,
think that's an issue with a lot of the doctors is they've never had the procedures. So to them, it's a really simple,
yeah,
easy, pain-free procedure. But
absolutely.
for us who are already in
Yeah.
pain at that time as well, I
Mm,
remember going into the room and I was anxious as hell. And I told the doctor, I was like, look, I'm really sorry, but I am super anxious. I don't know what to expect. I've never had anything medical done to me before, apart from
yeah,
grommets in my ears.
yeah,
Um, I just don't know what to do. He was like, nope, it's fine. I'll talk you through it. He was
yeah.
absolutely lovely man.
Mm,
And did is it lidocaine? Put the needle
Yeah.
in. I was like, okay, that's sore, but it's not too bad. It's just a thin needle. He's like,
Sure.
right, I'm gonna put the tube in now.
Mm.
It's like, okay. And immediately I was like, and I don't know how to explain it. I was almost like frozen with the pain. And
Yeah.
I kept going,
Yeah.
ow, that hurts. Ow, that's really sore. But I was saying it in the most calmest of voices, despite being in like, it was excruciating.
Of course. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was just going, that really hurts. Please, could you stop that? In that tone
Yeah.
the whole time. And I ended up having to have fentanyl to help with it because I just couldn't cope. Um, and afterwards, I was in so much pain, I ended up on a PCA, which is like the patient controlled administered drug.
Yes.
And I was on oxycodone. And that was
Yeah.
the only thing that got me through. And I just kept pressing it. And I was just like,
You
this
know,
is,
the most disappointing thing about that procedure is that you've got this button that you can press, but it, of course, it has only a limit to how much you can have, isn't it?
yep, only 5 minutes.
Yeah. Every
Every
five
five
minutes.
minutes. And I was
Yeah.
just staring at this red button going, can I press you now?
Come
Can
on.
I press you now?
I
Um,
spend most of my time doing this. Four
yeah,
minutes, four and
honestly,
a half minutes. Go.
honestly, you're just like, right, when can I press it? When can I press it?
Yeah.
And it was the worst. And you just have this like, I remember at the time I was so depressed with
Yeah.
everything. It's the
Yeah.
only way to say it.
Sure. Yeah.
I suffered with mental health issues anyway
Mm.
because like throughout my life. So this just sort
Yeah.
of wasn't
Yeah.
what I needed. And I
Sure.
just had this tube coming out of me with a bag attached, filling with gunk. And I just remember going, what is happening? Like this is just horrendous.
It's weird, isn't it? I mean, my wife wasn't allowed in the hospital because I was in during the COVID period.
Oh goodness,
Oh.
yeah.
So, but when we got home, I had another procedure where they were draining. I had a drain in my back for a pseudocyst,
Yeah,
which was very similar procedure to the drain you
yeah,
had, but we had to do this thing every day where we had to inject a little bit of saline in
yep,
to allow us to draw it back out again, you see.
yep.
And there were times when my wife would be sitting there and she'd obviously help, of course, and she would look at it and she'd say, "Oh, that's amazing. Like this, wow, look what's in there." And I'd say, "Excuse me, you know."
So
But it's incredible what comes out, and you think, "Oh my God, that's inside."
yeah.
You know, people don't see this, do they?
No, this is the thing. And I remember looking, going, that just looks like pure pus. And I'm like, that's
Mm,
just sitting in
mm,
my body.
yeah,
Festering is the only way to
yeah, yeah.
describe it. And you're just like, this is just pure grossness.
Mm, mm,
And at this point, so I had a tube coming out my stomach with a bag attached for that.
yeah,
I had a
yeah,
tube out my nose with a bag attached for that to aspirate my stomach. A tube
yeah,
out of this side of the nose for my feeding
yeah,
tube.
yeah,
And I was just like, I felt
yeah.
inhuman because I was like, what? I've
Wow.
just got all of this stuff
Yeah,
attached to me. And then 2 days later, they were like, yep, you need another one. You need another drain for this side.
yeah, yeah.
I was like, oh, great. So then had to go. And I remember pressing my PCA, and I was so high on the PCA drug that I didn't feel any pain at that one because I was just doing that for a solid
Brilliant.
2 hours prior to the procedure and then throughout the procedure. And they were like, what's your name? I'm like, Jessica. I just pressed this button so much.
Yeah,
So then I
brilliant.
would woke up and my daughter had come to visit.
Yeah,
It was the first time I'd seen her because I'd been in with COVID. I couldn't have my daughter come in. So we'd come in and I was so high out of
yeah,
my mind, but I was like, I just want to see my daughter. And there's a picture of me and I'm lying there like this.
yeah, yeah.
And it's an awful picture. I hate looking at it, but I've got a catheter coming out. I've
Yeah.
got the tubes in my nose. I've got a massive oxygen mask on at that point as well because I was
So
really,
I saw that. I looked at. I did. Was that they call it stalking, don't they? I did stalk your Facebook page, and all of us have got these pictures on there somewhere. And I
Mhm.
looked, I'm thinking, wow,
Yeah. And
I
my
mean,
daughter's just asleep between my legs.
wow, yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
just like, how bizarre. Like, she's going to grow up and be like, oh, yeah, my mum was in hospital and used to sleep between her legs. And I'm just like, but
Did you experience the thinning of the hair and the hair loss?
oh, yeah, this is chopped because of it.
Yeah, yeah.
because where I was bed bound, my hair became so matted
Yeah.
um, that I eventually just gave up brushing it because I was like, I'm not going to be bothered. And it was a couple of months into SADU, is the name of the high dependency unit that I was in,
Mm.
and they were washing my hair because I was so depressed. They were like trying to do anything to give me a boost.
Yeah.
So like, we'll wash your hair and see if we can brush out this mat. And I'm like, you're not going to be able to. They're like, no, 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 I've got worse mats out than this. I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
Um, Wash through it. And they were trying to brush it out. And they were like, you're just going to have to get this cut. I went, just cut it now. So they
Yeah.
got a pair of scissors that they cut tape with and just went.
Oh, yes.
So I had like a reverse mohawk because most of the matting was in the center. So I had
Quality
all these
hairdo.
long straggly bits here, and all of this was gone with scissors, roughly chopped. And
Yeah.
then I had like traction, uh, it's alopecia, but it's not
Oh, yeah.
alopecia, but
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was just thinning.
Sure.
But basically, where everything had been pulled back, all of this
Yeah.
had faded. All
Yeah.
of the sides here, I've got some awfully great photos of that.
Yeah.
Sides
Yeah.
here were all thinned down because of like
Yeah.
lying on the pillow and
Sure.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's only just started to grow back in the last 2 months where I've been home.
Yeah. That was
Uh,
my biggest fear. It was it sounds so vain and it sounds so silly for something that's so dangerous as an illness. The biggest thing I was upset about was the fact that my hair was falling out,
yeah.
and it was well, and my wife would say to me, "Look, your hair's the least of your worries at the moment.
See,
yeah,
I
yeah,
was,
but look at me.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, this is the thing, isn't it? It's like, oh, look at me, like it's not there.
mm,
But I've never had a sentimental value towards my hair. I've had like undercuts. I've dyed it bright orange. So to me, I was just like, it'll grow back. But it
yeah,
did really impact me more than I expected it to,
yeah,
because I'd look at photos and go, I
mm,
don't look like me. I
no,
don't feel like me. I'm not, that's not me anymore. And it was quite a intense realization because I always was like, oh yeah, hair, it's not important. And then it's like, oh, actually, maybe a bit.
I think we underestimate just how much the I don't know about you, but I managed to withstand the physical toll in the end. And I said this all along that I was able to take the pain all day long because I got
Mhm.
used, and after a while, you know how intense the pain is, so you know when it comes, you know what you're dealing with, you
Yeah.
know. But the mental aspect, which is the to and froing between I'm getting better, oh I've deteriorated, oh I'm getting better, oh I've deteriorated. That kind of to and fro, for me was the difficult thing. And I also found as well that those dips never really went away. They're always ingrained as a fear
Hmm.
that this might go more back the other way and I may end up not making this, you
Yeah.
know?
Like
Uh,
literally exact same thing happened to me. I remember screaming and crying in the ward at the doctor going, why won't you fix me?
yeah,
Um, like
yeah,
I was fine last week and now I'm worse again. Like this is worse
yeah,
than before it was last
yeah,
week. What are you doing? Why can't you fix me?
yeah,
You told me it was going to be 6 to 8 weeks, and I think it was 4 months at this point that I'd been in. And I was literally just, and I could not control myself
yeah,
to the
yeah,
point it was just screaming and crying for a
yeah,
solid like three
mm,
hours. I just couldn't calm down. And my poor husband, I don't know if your wife experienced the same, is just sitting there going, I can't do anything.
yeah,
Like, this is the worst thing to witness, and I can't do anything. I can't take the pain away. I can't take her home.
yeah,
Like, it was horrendous. And
yeah.
I'm so grateful for the nurses because they just sit and listen to you.
I was gonna ask you that. I was gonna say, when you're going in there and you want them to fix you and you can't understand why they're not the why you're not being fixed, that's the first thought. But now in hindsight, now you're sitting at home, how do you feel about the nurses now and the hindsight of knowing what they were dealing with now
Yeah.
and what do you know what I mean? And what your views were at the time?
At the time, I hated my doctors.
Mm.
The nurses I always loved because, and I say this all the time, they became like a second family to me because I was there for so long. And you
Mm.
build such great relationships with
Yeah.
the people that look after you.
Mm.
But at one point, like I hated my doctors, like, you're just doing nothing. Like you're not doing anything.
Mm.
Like all you're doing is pumping these antibiotics into me and these painkillers into me, but you're not actually fixing the root cause.
Yeah,
Even though they told me there is no way to fix it, there's no cure for pancreatitis.
yeah,
But I couldn't fathom that there was no cure. I couldn't fathom that like this is it. All they can do is this, this, and this.
yeah, yeah,
But now I look back and I'm like, well, of course that's all they can do.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
an
yeah.
organ dying in your body. Like, they can't just
Mm.
magically fix
But
that
yeah,
and make it whole again.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's gone. It is what it is now. And I'm so great. I even still pop back to the nurses in the high dependency unit and in ICU
yeah,
to be like, hiya, like I dropped a box of chocolates and I just go to catch up because they really became such like a lifeline whilst I was in there because they would just sit and listen to you talk and cry and
yeah,
turn around and go, you're doing really well. I know it's really hard. You're really brave. You've got this. You will turn a corner. I remember hating that phrase. Oh, don't worry, you'll turn the corner. And I'm like, when am I going to turn the bloody
yeah,
corner?
yeah.
There is no bloody corner to turn.
Well, that,
And
yeah.
it's
It's
all they
really nice
can say
to do
though.
that, though. It's really nice that you do that. I mean, I do a similar thing. I go back down to Southend Hospital, and
Are you
uh, I,
insane? That's where my in-laws are from.
oh yeah, 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 yeah. I'm just on the outskirts, you know. So yeah, the worst ambulance ride to Southend ever because there's so many potholes, and you know what it's like in a car when you've got that stomach the way that it is.
Yeah.
So sensitive. But yeah, I always take a big pile of Quality Street tins and just distribute them back to the ward. You know,
Yeah.
I one of the obs nurses that Asian guy, he I hadn't seen him for 2 years, and he saw me looking how I look now, and he remembers how I was, you know, with the tubes and everything else. And he came over and he said, "Is it you? Is it you?" He said, "I thought you was dead." And he cried. And I was thinking, "Why are you crying? You know, it's just me."
Yeah,
But
the thing.
that's genuinely how they feel
Hmm.
towards their patients too.
Yeah,
I think forget that.
this is the thing, and it's so genuine. There is no falseness at all with any of their emotions
Yeah, yeah,
towards you.
yeah,
And I remember I was turning 25 in hospital,
yeah,
and I was so upset because
yeah,
I was like, this is like 25, like that's quite a big birthday. Like most people have parties and
yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
and I'm stuck in hospital, not able to move. I'm having to wee in a bag. Like
yeah,
nurses are having to change me. I'm wearing nappies, for goodness sake. I'm turning 25. And
yeah.
I was lying in bed and I heard one of the nurses went, she's not working today. What's she doing here?
Mm.
Like, why is she here? And all of a sudden, all of the nurses come in holding balloons,
Oh, bless
singing
her.
me happy birthday, and they
That,
brought me a gift bag full of goodies of like face masks and nail polishes and like cupcakes to give me as my birthday present. And they'd specifically come in just to be able to say happy birthday to
oh, that's
me.
fantastic.
And
Yeah.
I was like gobsmacked. I was like, oh my goodness, like this is your job, but this isn't just your job. You
Wow.
genuinely
Wow.
care.
Yeah,
And I'm forever grateful for that because that was one of the hardest days because I
yeah.
wasn't with my daughter, I wasn't with my husband. I was having to spend my birthday in hospital.
Wow.
And they
Wow.
just thought, you know what, screw it. Let's give her some balloons and give her some like treats to have, like she'll be good.
Fantastic.
And yeah, it was just bizarre. But I just have this, I just remember them all coming and holding balloons, singing happy birthday, and it was just the loveliest thing.
Fantastic. So how does life look like now for you? I mean, obviously you're chronic pancreatitis now.
Hmm. So
Okay. So we have to live with that. But so what does life look like for you now?
life now is amazing.
Okay.
Gotta be completely honest. I mean, I still get pain. I
Hmm.
still have an innate fear around food. I don't
Yeah.
know if you have the same thing as well,
Yeah.
because,
Hmm.
and this is what I found most baffling, is not one thing is the same for pancreatitis survivors.
Yeah.
So for me, red meat is a trigger, but for you, that may not be a trigger, but cucumber could be a trigger.
Yeah.
It's the widest range. So I still have a very innate scare of food, but I'm pushing through, I'm still eating.
Yeah.
Um, I'm getting to hang out with my daughter. and creating
Yeah.
these amazing memories now. And
Yeah.
she's the most feral wild child I've ever experienced. But I love her to pieces. Um, but it's medications and
Yeah.
remembering to take all of these medications. I mean, I've now got heart failure. I went through multi-organ failure in my second ICU admission.
Yeah.
I had to be put on dialysis to filter my blood because I had so much fluid build up.
Yeah.
Over the 6 months, I lost nearly 40 kg.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, I was at like just post-pregnancy weight, so I was also at my like highest weight possible
Right.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
put
Yeah.
on for pregnancy, who doesn't?
Yeah.
And I'd lost a lot. So now it's like also trying to find new clothes. Got diabetes, so having to remember to do my injections.
Yeah.
Always having, I've got a Freestyle Libra device
Yeah.
on my arm,
Yeah.
trying to protect that from my feral child who
Yeah.
likes to rip it out my arm. Um,
Yeah.
but it's the fatigue. I don't know if you still have it. I know obviously you were in 5 years ago now,
Yes. Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
hoping you're going to tell me it gets better. But the fatigue at the end of the day,
I think I think for me, managing it has got better, I
okay,
think. Um,
there is hope.
yeah, which is good. But I think that's more mindset for me than anything else. The problem with me is that I'm one of these people that um, I push and push and push and push, and I don't, and I've now realised I'm never going to be the person that I was,
Yeah,
and I accept that now. So a little bit more that helps me a little bit more. But you're right, fatigue is part of the parcel. Um, I found that because I didn't ask you, are you on pancreatic enzyme treatment?
yeah, I'm on Creon
Oh yeah, me too.
25,000.
Creon. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've got bottles. Oh, ignore that. Yeah, I carry bottles of this everywhere.
Yeah, I've got one sitting right
Yeah,
next to me. I've got one
yeah,
in the kitchen, one in my
yeah,
bedroom, and one in my daughter's
yeah,
baby bag.
yeah. And I found that once, although it works, I think it takes a little bit of time to get food into the body, Creon to do its job, and into the system. So I think production levels of energy are slower, I think,
Mhm.
than the average person, I think.
Yeah,
But yeah, fatigue for me comes and goes. I can have really bad weeks where I just want to sleep for days. And I'm now accepting that sometimes I have to do that. Must be really difficult for you with a child.
naps are glorious because I can nap with her.
Ah, there you go. Yeah.
So she goes into her crib for 3 hours, and I go into my bed for 3 hours.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, number one rule, when they sleep, so do you.
I
Yeah.
know most
Yeah.
parents will tell you it's a load of rubbish, but I have to actually
Oh
do
no. Yeah.
because if I don't, I
Yeah.
just won't survive
Yeah.
most of the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I
it's
think,
a lot. And I think the fatigue is the one that wears me down the most because it's
yeah.
like, why am I tired? Like, I'm home, I'm 25, I have all this energy, but I'm just, by the end of the day, I'm falling asleep on the sofa at like
Yeah.
8 o'clock at night. And
Yeah. Yeah.
most people my age are, well, I mean, I'm a little bit out of the norm because I'm married with a kid at my age, but like most people my age are like
Mm,
staying up doing things or like they're out partying or whatever. And I'm like
yeah.
sitting at home on my sofa going, can I go to bed yet? Is it acceptable?
Yeah. Have you ever had anyone that you know when you mention the word fatigue, as it were, and they say, "Oh yeah, I'm always tired," and you then say, "Whoa, no, 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 tired and fatigue, they are
Mhm.
different things. Please don't associate the two,
This is
please."
the thing. But then
Yeah.
I'm also like, I don't want to invalidate anyone because I'm like, yeah, I know you're
Yeah.
tired. But
Yeah.
it's like, I don't think you quite understand that fatigue is extremely
Yeah.
different. Like, it's like bone deep tired.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
just, oh, I could have an extra hour. It's, I have no energy to,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I don't even want to move off the sofa. I'm that tired,
Yeah.
like, that fatigued. But I
It's a
can't, I
brain.
don't validate them.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, do you get do you get the brain fog that actually you can't even
It,
think
it
about
doesn't
what you
even help
need to
because
do?
I had brain fog from pregnancy as well. So I've just got this, like, double whammy of just, like, my brain don't
Wow.
work.
You've had it rough.
Like it's just like I sometimes I talk and I'm like I don't even know what I just said.
Yeah. Wow, wow.
Yeah,
So
no.
the diabetes bit, that's an interesting bit here because those people that are watching will think, oh yeah, I know, I understand type 1 and type 2, but you're not.
Nope.
This is the thing that we turn around and say that type 3C diabetes, and they say, oh, never heard of that. My GP had never heard of it.
Yep, my heart nurse said that she'd
Mm,
never heard of it. And she's got to hear of it because they can't give certain medication for diabetic patients.
mm,
And she was like, I hadn't even heard of it
mm,
in the
mm.
years that she'd worked there.
Yeah,
I mean, it's only just recently been recognized as an official type of diabetes.
yeah,
And it's the weirdest thing because it's not because you're born with
mm,
the deficiency or whatever you want to call it.
sure,
It's not
yeah,
because you're eating wrong that you're
no,
getting it. It's
no,
because the body's not producing it now. And it's
mm,
not,
yeah,
I find it really difficult because for like type 1 diabetics, most of the time they're born with it. So they've
mm,
grown up with the process of how to manage it and how to deal with it.
yeah,
I'm now having to completely rewire everything that I've done in
yeah,
my like life because I've now got it just thrown upon me.
mm,
And there are some elements that link up to type 1, there are some elements that link up to type 2,
yeah, yeah,
and it's just like no
mm,
one's well versed on it. Like
yeah,
some like even my diabetes nurse, they're not 100% sure certain things. Like it's basically trial and error at the moment with my
yeah, yeah,
insulin.
of course.
Um, and I think with necrotizing pancreatitis as well,
Mm,
is my pancreas is still killing off cells.
right, yeah,
So my diabetes has got worse. So I'm now on fast acting diabetes rather than just long acting, and I've had to up my units from 1 to 4
wow,
because my blood sugars are just through the roof.
yeah,
Uh, um, and it's just a constant battle of trying. And I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, honestly, any of this pancreatitis, diabetes, any of it, because
sure,
it is the most like minefield, boggling
mm,
thing to manage ever.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, I don't know, it's just bizarre and it's just so sudden for me because
yeah,
it was just after pregnancy, like within 3 months of
wow,
giving birth.
wow, wow.
So
Amazing, amazing. Well, do you know what? Thank you so much for sharing your journey.
thank you for having me, honestly.
It's an amazing journey, and I think it will shock a lot of people because I think that it's one of those things that people have never heard of, but now they've heard the story, you know,
Hmm.
and how critical you were, and you look amazing. I mean, you know, for
Feeling
someone
good.
for someone who's coping with all of those things. You look amazing. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank
No,
you.
honestly, thank you for having me, and I hope that more people will see this side of it and realize that yes, it's going to get worse before it gets better, but it does eventually get better. I mean, we're both survivors of this.
Evidence.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you. Have a great day.
you too, Ray.